Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, developed by Machine Games and Arcane Studios. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot is releasing on PSVR, Index, Vive, and Windows Mixed Reality, but as always, this review will be on the PSVR version and reviewed on a PS4 Pro. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot releases this July 26, 2019 for an estimated price of $20. Of course, that depends on your region. Paris, 1980. You're the best hacker in town. Your mission: aid the French resistance by taking control of powerful Nazi war machines. Ram, gun down, and burn your way through the city of love, leaving dead Nazis in your wake. Not the VR Wolfenstein we all wanted to see, but does this offshoot from the much revived series still bring it? Let's find out. As always, guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. Starting off this review, let's take a look at graphics. Coming from Bethesda and made by the development teams responsible for such fantastic game series, the likes of Wolfenstein, Dishonored, and Prey, to say the expectations are high would be a massive understatement. And yeah, you can definitely tell there was some money behind this, if maybe not a ton of effort. And what do I mean by that? Well, releasing the same day is another installment in the main Wolfenstein franchise titled Wolfenstein Youngblood. With even a cursory glance at the gameplay footage for that title, one can see the borrowed assets all over Cyberpilot from what is understandably the flagship game. Now, don't get me wrong, Cyberpilot benefits hugely from all the high-quality textures, animations, and a surprising amount of lighting, shadow, and particle effects, but with the often repetitive and uninspired hallway-like stages and arcade delivery of everything, it's hard not to feel at times like Cyberpilot kind of phones it in. These deja vu and sloppy second feelings aside, Cyberpilot is still in its own right a fantastic looking game much of the time. With the exception of some slight aliasing issues and texture flicker, Cyberpilot shines with AAA quality. Textures and overall resolution certainly take a significant hit here from the more recent flat Wolfenstein games, but there is still a sense of quality and polish that will often remind you this isn't the typical indie title we've gotten used to playing. Sound is up next. Unsurprisingly, Cyberpilot in its sounds as with its graphics borrows heavily from the Prime series. However, when you have such a rich well to draw upon, can you blame them? Bullet fire, explosions, yelling guards, and alarms fill much of the soundscape here in Cyberpilot, and wonderfully so.
The quickest way to the tower is across the canal.
Music is likely also from the Prime series, but honestly sits so far back in the mix, it is little more than texture in the background, and you would be forgiven for not even noticing it for the most part. Unfortunately, the one original thing to the collection of sounds on offer is also the weakest. This comes in the form of your commanding officer, teacher, and chief storyteller. The voice acting here isn't the issue here though, it's that the dialogue, story, and overall attitude of what's here is just bland and unimaginative, often feeling padded for length, to the point that I found myself pressing random buttons trying to pass the dialogue portions. Disappointing really, as the dialogue in previous entries, while not Shakespeare, were often hilarious. Regardless, the total audio package often shines, even if it is a bit shallow. And that brings us to gameplay. So yeah, this isn't the Wolfenstein you wanted. Sadly, this isn't Doom VFR with Nazis and an aim controller. Instead, what we get is a rather quick 2 to 3 hour bare-bones campaign in which you are essentially a drone pilot sitting in a virtual hub inside a resistance base. From the safety of your comfortable chair, you will take control of 3 different machines, that of a giant fire-breathing dog called a Panzerhound, a flying drone, and most impressively, a giant mech. Now, I wish I could tell you this was still all the awesomeness of the Prime series and that this just took it in a new but totally awesome direction. Unfortunately, at the completion of my 2.5 hour campaign run, I came away feeling more like I just played Bravo Team DLC than a Wolfenstein spin-off. The game consists of essentially 4 main missions at around 20 minutes apiece, with the first 3 missions each taking you through a type of machine, and the 4th mission seeing us use all 3 in a final attack. First up is the Panzerhound mission, putting us in narrow and mostly linear city streets as you leap, attack, and burn Nazi scum. Mission 2 takes us vertical as we jump in a flying drone. Here we are hacking terminals and gloriously torching more Nazi scum. Mission 3 takes us back to the streets, but this time significantly upgraded and easily my favorite machine, coming in the form of the bipedal mech. Here you are armed with a minigun and a missile launcher, taking on bigger, You guessed it, Nazi scum. Mission 4 essentially has you switching among all 3 of the same areas previously visited and killing more, well, you know. Padding the game, I mean supplementing the game, sees us going from floor to floor at HQ, doing small pick this up and do that thing, make work projects, reminding me slightly of my time spent in the Batcave in Arkham VR. These parts look really good and are entertaining for a few moments, but unfortunately only remind me of how light on game this game is. There's no progression, no upgrades, or really any choices whatsoever. It's not that the missions here are void of fun, as they still often brought a smile to my face, but these rather shallow and linear episodes felt much more like levels in an arcade game than a Wolfenstein game. Fittingly then, that enemy AI does not follow over from the Prime game here, as even on harder difficulties, enemies pretty much just run out into the open as cannon fodder. Thankfully though, despite what some have said, this is not on rails and does offer us complete control over all 3 machines. And speaking of controls, Bethesda has thankfully offered the choice of smooth or click turning. Movement is full locomotion, but for people with VR sickness, you will find blinder settings on offer. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot can be controlled using either a DS4 or 2 Move controllers with a multitude of control options for turning control. As such, the moves are most definitely the way to go here, as these slow hulking machines control just fine with the moves, and the game most definitely is based around independent hand movement, with you literally manipulating controls throughout. Tracking was good for the most part, but the camera was a bit finicky, especially when using a DS4. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot will most likely be played seated, since, well, you're sitting in cockpits the entire time during the game, and a minimum amount of room is required. And finally, that brings us to fun factor in my final review. I actually hate the word tech demo as it relates to VR, as it is often used to cheapen great experiences simply because they're light on content. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot is more what I would call a game tease. It feels and looks like a AAA VR game, but almost always feels like a VR cash grab. With VR in its infancy still a cash grab, this is likely not though, and most likely yet again another toe dip by Bethesda into the VR waters. This is by no means a bad game, but it is important to see it for what it is, a Wolfenstein themed experience that looks and sounds good but never manages to become much more than what you see in the trailers. I hate number ratings and instead rate games on a scale of buy, wait for sale, or burn it to the ground. Guys, this certainly isn't priced like a full game, and at $20 it's not priced ridiculously for what you get, as long as you know what that is. This one and done game personally feels more like a $15 DLC to the main game, but like I said, being that Bethesda is one of the few big publishers to put money into VR, while I came away disappointed, I still applaud Bethesda and hope that their next attempt is a flying cannonball into the VR waters we all want. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys on my next video.